Hey everybody, before we get started, I just want to remind you this episode is brought to you by our patrons like FGO Comics, Qua, and Nestor Flores. If you like what we do and want to see us do more, consider supporting us on Patreon. You can get access to episodes early and lots of other goodies, and it would really help us out. Thanks for your support, everyone. Hello everyone, welcome back to Let's Talk FGO Wanted, the show where we let you know if you want to roll 5 stars. Usually limited in story locks, but sometimes permanents. We'll see if we do a Wanted Orion. Hey, let me guys know if you want that. We'll definitely do a Wanted Dantes when that comes back. Just because that'll be funny. Anyway, hi. Here we are. We're doing Wanted. It's not about those guys. This is about First Hassan, the SSR Assassin, who is limited and is coming in a banner soon, as of the time I'm recording this. Yeah, production-wise, this should... Obviously, we don't know exactly when stuff will work out, because there's, like, days and all that other stuff, but this should be up public well before the banner actually drops, so you're fine. It's Wanted. If you are one of those people who watches Wanted as your ritual, thank you for that, by the way. Remember, if you want to summon this 5-star, just watch Wanted over and over again while summoning. It will surely work. But yes, in case you don't know, Let's Talk FGO Wanted is our spin-off show, I guess, from normal Let's Talk FGO, where we talk about upcoming 5-star banners, and occasionally 5-star banners that have already started because they don't give you enough warning. And we let you know their real-life history or mythology, their fate lore with a capital L, their mechanics, and then their rarity. Not their in-game rarity, which doesn't mean anything, but their actual how frequent are their raid-ups. Guess what? For this guy, it's not a lot. So, yes, we are talking about Assassin. First Hassan, or King Hassan, as some may know him, and we will cover all those aspects today. And sometimes we talk about, like, support comps or whatever. Teammates, stuff like that. Anywho, let's go ahead and talk about history. So, this is an interesting kind of diversion. The historical Hassan-i Sabbah, also sometimes transliterated as Hassan-i Sabbah, which is what Fate is used, is very different from the way the character is the character of the Old Man of the Mountain, the title bearer Hassan-i Sabbah, and the founder of the Hashin order, is very different in reality than the way he's presented in Fate. We'll talk about it later when we talk about his character in Fate lore and kind of like what he showed up and did. But he's very much... The character in FGO is very much a urban legend, almost like boogeyman type character. Not that the historical Hassan wasn't kind of a boogeyman in his own right, but he was different. Basically, the historical person, born in the 11th century, was a missionary and soldier, and then a theological leader who was originally born in Iraq, what is now Iraq. He spent some time in his youth traveling around the Middle East before converting to a branch of Shia Islam and becoming a missionary, where he journeyed into the mountains in the north of Persia and converted the Nizari people, which formed the basis of the Nizari sect, who became to be known later by kind of pop culture as the Assassins. We start wrapped in mystery because the foreigners like Marco Polo reported the name as Hashashin, as in from the term hashish, which is related to some stuff we're going to talk about later. The original texts we have from Grandmaster Hassan-i Sabbah is that the name was more like Assassin, as in... It's kind of like flowery, or literally translated as the people who are faithful to the foundation of the faith. So kind of like people at the foundation of the faith kind of thing. Because, yes, this was all very religious. And himself, Gramps, as you may know him, is supposedly a fairly religious or spiritual character. But anyway, that's what he intended the name to be. And he's famous for taking over a mountain fortress called Alamut, which is in modern Iran. And he and his followers played a very slow game to capture this fortress, using infiltration and conversion, and then turned this into a center of Islam studies, where they studied a lot of areas and philosophy, and they trained followers, the lowest ranks of which were known as the Fedayeen, and they were able to, or willing to sacrifice themselves for the cause, and they were the actual assassins who engaged in asymmetrical warfare, guerrilla warfare, surgical strikes, and lots of other training in the kind of Nizari doctrine. All right? So, it's kind of like, you know, he was a missionary turned military leader who started a lot of these ideas and mythology in the future assassins. Later, he was conflated with the old man of the mountain idea, which was something that the Europeans would have known. That was more of a Syrian thing, the elder, which is not actually what Hassan would have called himself at the time, but, you know, that's how it was recorded in history, so that's how fate kind of takes stuff. But a lot of that has to do with Marco Polo. And unfortunately, we don't know a lot of details about the historical Hassan-i Sabbah's life for sure, because while it is believed that he wrote a autobiography, the actual text of that was lost. And so only... and he also works for philosophy. Those are all lost. So the only knowledge we have of what he wrote about himself or philosophy is fragments and passages which are quoted by later writers. And like I said, a lot of details of his followers and his style were clouded by later Westerners like Marco Polo traveling through the area. This is where they get a lot of the classical ideas of the hashashin, that Hassan would, you know, drug young men with hashish when they came to come to paradise because they thought that he was a mystic or a spiritual leader. He at least was a spiritual leader, but they would be drugged and then used as you know, disposable soldiers. I don't think any drugs were needed. They were just really faithful and religious. And that's basically what we got. Like I said, a lot of the details about the historical Hassan-i Sabbah are kind of flexible because we're not sure, because there's not a lot of sources to cite, as the original texts that were written around that time have been lost. Even Marco Polo was way later. When was he born? I think, yeah, he was born in 1254, and Hassan-i Sabbah is believed to have died sometime in the early 1100s, all right? This is like when we talked about Nero and Wanted Nero Bride, where, you know, you can't necessarily trust historians who come along hundreds of years after the fact. You know, they weren't born or were barely born by the time some of these people died. Anyway, let's talk about Gramps. King Hassan, aka First Hassan, the original Old Man of the Mountain, is very much an urban legend, right? Like, he is the secretive Grand Master who founded the Order of Assassins, through all of which your favorite Hassan characters, Cursed Arm, 100 Faces, Serenity, etc., are drawn. But he's kind of like a boogeyman who is always known to be secretly lurking, waiting in the mountains. Not that was, like I said, that was something the historical character did, but in a much more physical sense, in that he escaped, you know, persecution and military enemies by hiding out in the mountains. But the original Hassan would basically lurk in the sacred shrine or whatever, and if a Old Man of the Mountain failed or became corrupted, he would appear to remove them. And when it was their time, when they started failing in their duties, he would also remove them. So he's kind of like an immortal guy who hangs around and deals justice. Like I said, very much a boogeyman. He is a major character in Camelot and Babylonia. During Camelot and parts of Babylonia, he is described as Grand Assassin, which is a big deal. He's, you know, an allied character. He kind of allies with you in your fight to save humanity. He is, I guess, because he calls himself Grand, he's technically a servant the whole time, but the details of that aren't really clear. But yes, he is a major character who is super popular. People like to call him Gramps because of some fan comics and stuff, and he's, you know, kind of cool and stuff. But yes, he is said to be a very spiritual and religious sort. And there's a great deal of question about what First Hassan's actual true self is. It says even that his true name is Old Man of the Mountain, right? Supposed to be the founder of the Hashashin. But as we said, he is not, very much related to the historical Hassan-i Sabbah who supposedly founded the order, or did found the order based on history, right? So there's a lot of question about, is he a different person? It has to do with some of his skills and stuff. Is he a literal angel of death? Is he another figure from perhaps somewhere in, the biblical mythology? Who knows? Maybe it'll come up. He hasn't been a major story figure, as far as I know, since Part 1 ended. But we'll see. So that's your lore and history. Lots of mysteries, possible confusions, vagaries of time. Who knows? Let's talk about his actual mechanics, which are very interesting. So, First Hassan, he's a big boy. He's got big boy stats. His attack is second highest among assassins, only just a pinch under Shuten Doji, like maybe less than 100, or it's more like 150. It's very close. And just slightly above MHX and Jack. So it's a pretty close. But compared to those guys, he has quite a pinch more HP. Like, I'd say 500-ish more points, looking at the comparisons. So he's got a pretty beefy stat spread. Standard star absorption for a assassin, very high star generation. The same star gen stat as Jack, actually, which is very good with his one quick card. You'll also notice he has huge NP gain, which is pretty shocking, considering that while he does only have one arts card, it's still 3 hits. And then he's got a 5-hit quick card, so, like an ABQ, you'll get a very decent amount of NP charge. You don't need to worry about his death rate. And he's got other stuff. And yes, as alluded, he has a Buster Gorilla deck, super unusual for an assassin, but he makes it work with his 1-hit 3 Buster cards, his singular 3-hit arts cards, and 5-hit quick card, and then a 6-hit extra attack. He's about the hit counts. His Busters are pretty basic, but if you get any of his other card types, it's a bit like Musashi in that way. If you get any of his other card types, you're actually going to apply them pretty good. Though, obviously, we're going to skip to the end where we talk about support. Obviously, to enhance that NP gain and also combo with his Busterness, he makes a perfect buddy for Merlin. So his NP is Azrael, the angel that announces death. This is also pretty interesting because it appears that he does not have a Zavinia technique. It's just a single hit. It deals a buttload of damage. It's a Buster card. And it has a very high chance to apply death. It starts at 100% at basic overcharge and scales up. So if your enemy is vulnerable to instant death, he can probably smack it on them pretty good, especially once we look at his skills. Other than that, he's just, in terms of card and NP design, he's basically just a single target assassin with a Buster focus. He is there to bully writers and stuff. Now let's talk about what makes him more unique and interesting. His active and passive skills. So active skills, first off, he's got the highest battle continuation, an EX rank. Sure, the cooldown is long, but you get 1 time of Guts for 5 turns with the largest Guts heal there is. It starts at 3k and goes up to 5k. That is a not insignificant chunk of HP change, especially combo that with some defensive servant to, reduce the damage coming into him. He can actually come back from a Guts in, a real way. And also, you don't even need those guys because he's also got Protection of the Faith A+++. That's all the pluses. The super faithful power. This is on a minimum 5-turn cooldown. It increases his debuff resist by up to 100%. It restores up to 2,500 HP. It gives him up to 40% defense up for 1 turn, and increases his attack by up to 20% for 3 turns, so a little self-charisma. That's basically all the buffs you need, and it's perfect for after you've gutsed, to heal yourself a little bit and get your defense up so you don't go down right away. Or just in general, if you're looking at a bad situation, fort up. That 40% defense up is real good for a clutch turn. And the attack up is important for him doing his job. And then his third skill, Evening Bell EX, is a unique Mana Burst variant. Yes, obviously it does the normal Mana Burst thing. It gives him a Buster card effectiveness up for 1 turn to up to 50%. Pretty standard NP steroid or just card steroid, for 1 turn. But then it also reduces all enemies' death resist by up to 100% for 3 turns. So you can make that Azrael really stick. And also some other stuff. We'll talk about that in a second. As you can see from his active kit, he's got a pretty interesting kit. He's a damage dealer and a bruiser, but in an enduring way, right? Like, he's not a glass cannon. He can guts for a large amount. He can self-heal for a pretty big amount on a fairly regular cooldown. You know, that's at level 10, that's 2,500 HP back every 5 turns, with 1 turn of a significant defense up, and then, you know, multiple turns of debuff resist and attack up. The attack up's not huge, but it helps overall because you'll be using him to beat things up. He is a beater. He's got a gorilla deck. You're going to smash people. Well, specifically, you're going to smash riders, but you know what I mean. And then Evening Bell is just pure damage steroid, and we're going to make that dice roll on death better. So passive skills. He's got Magic Resistance B, which increases his debuff resist by a little bit. So combined with his inherent debuff resist and then his skills to increase debuff resist, he's pretty hard to debuff. He's got Presence Concealment A, which increases his star drop rate by 10%. Not quite as good as Jack, but when he's landing those Quick and Arts cards, or even his Buster cards don't have a great hit count, so maybe not, but a little bit. But still, with Quick, and if you wanted to like lead a QBA or a QBB or something, you can probably get a decent chunk of stars out of there. He's got Independent Action B, a great buff for an assassin, which increases his critical strength. And then he's got his unique ability, At the Boundary A. So this is great. So step 1, nullify instant kill resist upon self. Instant kill will never work on this servant. This is just a great niche if you're dealing with dumb instant kill gimmicks to be able to go, nah. Second, increases specifically his charm resist by 100%. So, barring, like, basically an overcharge chance on charm or debuff success rate ups, he will never fall prey to charm. But he might still for some, like, enhanced effects. Oh, and he's got a 5% chance to inflict instant death on an enemy with normal attacks. I'm sorry, what was that? Oh yeah, no, just with any of his regular cards, he has a 5% chance to inflict instant death, a 1 in 20. You get to roll that nat 20, they die. It doesn't happen a lot, but it does happen. It can be quite rewarding when it does, and with Evening Bell and stuff, you know, you can kind of tweak that a little bit. Though instant death is weird. I don't think I've ever fully understood how the instant death, like, proc works. But anyway. Yeah, so those are great mechanics. Like I said, he is a Buster Bruiser. You're going to want to give him Buster ups, maybe instant death ups, but mostly just improve Buster, maybe improve Buster crit. You know, if you want to help his NP gain, that's probably not bad. But he's not really a spam type, so I don't think, like, 50% ups or K-scopes or anything like that will really help him. What you want for that is you want to support, like, you want to throw him in with Merlin or somebody else who can, like, team charge. Oz could also work a little bit with some stuff. And in general, it's useful. But in general, you're going to want to offense focus on him, right? And either don't care about his NP because you're just dropping nasty busters, which have their own small chance to hit, or just let him rack it up naturally when you get his arts and quick cards. You know, combo him with other servants who maybe have a bit more of an arts focus. You know, if you're running a comp with, like, Assassin Shiki, if you have her. And don't worry if you don't have her right now. She is coming back in NA later. That'll be in about a year. A little more than a year, I think. But, yeah. You can probably, like, combo in and add him to some arts chains every once in a while. But just, he's got a lot of HP. He's got a lot of recovery. And he's got a lot of damage boosters, okay? Give him some friends who also damage boost. You know, throw a waiver in there. Maybe, just for generic support. No, that's pretty nasty. The one weakness, I would say, is, compared to, like, Jack with her deck setup, who just, you know, craps out stars all the time, Hassan's a little bit more of a gamble, unless you're, like, trying to solo with him. Which I'd have to look into, because I don't... I mean, Protection of the Faith's good heal, Bound Continuation's good heal. You could probably try that for certain enemies. But if you're working with a team, right, like his quick and arts card are not going to show up super a lot, so you probably cannot use him in a sense to generate lots of critical stars for your team in a consistent manner. He'll generate plenty of stars when he actually drops that quick card. It's just, that's hard to count on a singular card type. So, let's talk about his rarity now, because that's a whole thing. So yeah, hey, much like Merlin, who we also talked about in this, it's great. He's only in 2. There's this campaign that's about to happen right now, which is especially for him, and then in whatever our North American equivalent to the 11 million downloads campaign, which will be sometime in November this year, which is great because that's right before Christmas, right before New Year's. It's either literally right before or just after some of the Salem stuff. I think it's literally just before. So it's in a very packed time. If you did not blow your whole wad on Merlin and Musashi and you got some stuff left over for Gramps, it's a great time to roll because other than certain GSSR campaigns, he has not come back in JP yet. So that means he is at least hard minimum 2 years out, right? So yeah, that's a big deal. All right, well, that about wraps it up. Hope everybody enjoyed this episode of Wanted. And of course, look forward to our regular Let's Talk FGO show discussions. And like I said, let me know in the comments about how you feel about like a Wanted Orion. Anyway, I'll go ahead and let you guys go. I'm sure I talked long enough to satisfy everybody. If you like this video, give it a like to let us know and to help out the channel. If you have any comments about this episode or future episodes, leave them in the comment section down below. You can also join our Discord. That link is in the description. And also, if you are new here and have not already, please subscribe so you always get the latest videos when we do these. We try to do them fairly regularly for new characters. We do them all the time for brand new releases on banners and sometimes for returning characters that we didn't do already. And also, even if you're already subscribed, don't forget that bell for notifications so you always know when we post a new video. And like it says at the front of the show, consider supporting us on Patreon. You can get access to this episode early. You can get access to audio-only downloads of our show, so you can listen on the go and you don't have to connect to YouTube or whatever. And just it also really helps us out and lets us do more stuff. And yeah, that's the show. Thanks for watching, everybody. Don't forget to offer thine head. And I'll see you in the next video, whenever that is.